of
I
you
think
all
there's
would
some
be,
noise
it
coming
would
from
be
your mic,
great.
Satish.
सॉरी
Is that the case with everyone or?
Okay.
नहीं आदित्य हमको तो सही से आ रहा है आवाज फिलहाल
चलो मैं देखता हूँ एक बार।
हाँ
मेरा सही
ठीक
से आ
है
रहा है ना?
तुम्हारे
Our
तरफ से
voice
ठीक
is
है
coming properly.
चलो
So we'll be starting in a minute. Guys.
Overall, can you all just tell about how every day yours going? They sort of like what new things it's now. It will be a whole new routine after joining the company. Can you tell something about it?
हाँ मतलब like usually on weekdays our office doesn't have any ऐसा मतलब fixed office hour, so we it depends totally on the team. So I usually go to like 11:30 and start my work at around by 12, and after that yeah, so we have lunch, then like by 8 or 8:30 almost like my work is done. After that I have dinner and I come back home.
That would be great. So we would be starting with our session now. Okay. Uh, am I audible to you all correctly?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, sure. Now we will start the session. So good evening, everyone. Continuing to the third day of the placement bootcamp, brought to you by Communiqué IIT Kharagpur. I am Nishit, and I am thrilled to host today's panel discussion along with Vatsal. Today we will dive deep into the fascinating world of data, and we hope the discussion cover all your questions and give you all the information you need. After the discussion, we will hold a Q&A session to address any remaining questions.
Now, without further ado, allow us to introduce our esteemed panelists. Our first panelist of the day is Mr. Saurav Mishra, who is placed in Navi Technologies Limited. Mr. Saurav, would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Hello everyone. So I'm Saurabh Mishra and I recently graduated from Kharagpur with dual degree. So my bachelor's was in instrumentation engineering and my master's was in AI. And currently, like in the last placement season, I got offer from Navi for data scientist position. So yeah, and I also got offer from Accenture Japan for AI architect role, but I didn't accept it. So yeah, that's all about it.
Thank you, Mr. Saurav. Up next, we have Mr. Aditya Chavla, who got placed in Google DeepMind. Mr. Aditya, please give a brief introduction of yourself.
So hello guys, I am Aditya. Likewise, Saurabh, I also was an IITP student of AI, and I also graduated this year. My bachelor's was in chemical engineering and master's was in AI. So I got placed on campus in Sprinkler as a data scientist. Post that, I joined Swiggy as a data scientist. Like off campus, I did not join Sprinkler. Then I switched again from Swiggy in the pre-doctoral researcher program at Google DeepMind.
Thank you, Mr. Aditya. Next, we have Mr. Jayachandra Ramesh, who got placed at Sprinkler. Mr. Jayachandra, could you take a moment and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi everybody. I'm Jai Chandra and I also got recently graduated from IIT Kharagpur with a dual degree in agriculture and food engineering. And I was placed uh, at Sprinkler and I'm also currently working in Sprinkler. And apart from that, I was from RK Hall. Yeah. I think that's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Jayachandra. And our final panelist for the day is Mr. Dev Gupta, who got placed at Swiggy. Mr. Dev, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Dev Gupta. I am a BTech student from the Department of Chemical Engineering. On campus, I was placed on Sprinkler, but I got an off-campus opportunity at SIGI, so I joined that. And so, like currently, I'm working at SIGI, and yeah, that's all from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Dev.
Our Before diving into exciting discussion and presentation, I would first likely to congratulate to all our panelists for landing into prestigious placements. Your achievements are truly inspiring. So, starting with our exciting panel discussion. So, the first question of the panel discussion is, can you share what motivated you to pursue a career in data, especially focusing on experience that influence your decision? So, Mr. Aditya, can you take the lead on this?
Sure. So as such, like I didn't have any strong motivation to do data. It's just that I didn't like development much. So I started out with development. I started data in peer pressure during COVID time because all of my friends were doing it. So you don't need a specific motivation to dive into data. I would say just try all and see whatever works for you. It was mainly the math part that interested me. So that was my major motivation to go into that. I did not like development.
It was a very great answer. Without even motivation, you had reached to such level. It would be very helpful to all the janta. Jayachandra, can you add some of your thoughts on it too?
Yeah, for me, I got interest into data because of AI, basically. During our lectures, professor used to talk of drone flying and capturing images and finding out the diseases of the plants and all assets from agriculture. So that interested me, but uh, when I started learning the things, I realized that most of the time somehow we are trying to mimic how our brain is working when it comes to deep learning. So that interested me a lot. And for me, I feel like data is more of a logic kind of thing, where you build on logic and something magic happens in the end. And apart from that, you can always map each and every algorithm to how our human brain thinks. And that is what exactly excites me in terms of machine learning and data science. Yeah. Uh, yeah, that is what kept me going on in data field.
Thank you, Jayachandra. That was a very nice answer for the janta. So I would like to ask that based on the journey, what advice would you give to someone trying to decide a career in data? Saurav, can you answer this?
Yeah, sure. So, like, I mean, there are no specific as a checkboxes which you need to, see before deciding to go into data. I would just suggest that just like explore the field, take up some projects or internship, or take part in, competitions, and you just figure out through your on your own pace that if you are liking it or not. So yeah, that I would just say that try out, try machine learning, try giving some competitions or do some projects, and at the end you would eventually figure out if you are liking it or not. So yeah.
Okay, moving on. Can you shed some light on the general selection process that most companies follow during the recruitment? What are the key stages that candidates typically go through? Mr. Dev, can you address this question?
Yeah, sure. So, like the general selection for most of the companies is first there is the hiring test. So that can be MCQ, or there can be CP questions also maybe asked, like not high level CP, medium level DSA questions. But most of the companies ask MCQ only. And if you want to like see what you can prepare is like most of the companies ask MySQL also. You should prepare that. And basically, common machine learning algorithms, random forest, decision trees, all these things you should prepare. And yeah, so there might be 4 or 3 rounds. The first round like is the test. Second round is like the basic CV going round, and third round is like your technical selections. Like they will ask what they are working on, and they will ask question like how can like some about the algorithms and all. So I can tell you how Sprinkler hires because I have given the test. So Sprinkler hires through 2 CP questions were asked, and there were many like 10 MCQs, I think, if I remember correctly. The second round was CV grilling round, and third round was also CV grilling, and they were asking extra questions on NLP, LLMs, and all these things. And fourth round was the coding round. For my case, everyone's round was different for Sprinkler depending on who is taking. So the fourth round of Sprinkler was like they asked me to code they asked me to code a machine learning algorithm from scratch on Python, and they also asked the DSA question of try. So I have to solve it on there, and puzzles also they ask. So basically, you have to do brain stellar and all. So because they will ask puzzles and probability in like second and third round. So these are the like basic things they ask. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Dave, for your input. Mr. Aditya, do you have anything to add?
So just say the first round like doesn't always consist of MCQs only. You should prepare DSA as like majority of the tests that I gave off campus and both on campus, they had their first round at DSA only. Or even if they don't have DSA, the first interview round is DSA only. And you should also prepare SQL and MySQL or either SQL Server because these two are the major languages that are present on every ID. And interviews also ask you to code SQL there itself. So preparing SQL as well as DSA is very important. MCQs in ML you can generally answer because you have been preparing for this profile, but generally people lack in DSA or either DSA or SQL. So focus on that. Also make sure you have your fundamentals right on statistics and probability. A lot of times questions about expectation values are asked and p values are also asked. So these are also important topics. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Aditya. Mr. Jayachandra, I would like to ask, what was the most challenging aspect of the selection process that you had?
Are you asking in terms of interview or the preparation
No,
part?
matlab, the whole process in the interview round. What was the most challenging
Okay.
part?
Yeah. As the other two mentioned, I also gave only one company's interview, that is of Sprinkler. For me, I'm a kind of person who do not have much of information. Like many people by that time knew that there will be 4 rounds, third round will be a bar raiser round and those kind of things. But I was always good with my basics and very good at my CV. So what helped me, and I would like to say that the third round was a bar raiser round was a tougher one. Tougher round in the sense he asked me to, I think all the people here will be mostly data people and they will be knowing gradient descent. Uh, Gradient descent is a simple algorithm, but he made sure that he don't spill out the word gradient descent, and it was framed in such a way that you had to put some kind of mind to understand that okay, it will be gradient descent. And the second question in that was he asked me to directly code PC algorithm, uh, which which will ask you to know some kind of statistics or the math involved behind the PC algorithm. Uh, but once I started coding, he asked me to quit on that. And also, the round two was on the application of NLP. Like he showed me some architecture and asked me to make some changes such that the latency of the model reduces. This kind of stuff, which are application. What I would suggest is that being good on the basics will make sure that you tackle all those problems.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Jayachandra, for your yeah.
Yeah.
So apart from that, I would like to ask that what are the resources that help you strengthen your application and interview process? Mr. Saurav, can you answer that question?
Yeah, sure. So as everyone said that like you need to be well versed with DSA, ML, probability and statistics, right? And SQL as well. So for DSA, I had joined the Algozenetica course. So for theory and the problems, I did that. And apart from that, I also solved questions on a lead code and gave like their bi-weekly and weekly contest to make sure that I'm able to solve questions in the time constrained environment. And yeah, that was it. And also I solved interview bit questions as well. So those are the standard questions which you need to have the like which you need to have the idea about, because many times if those questions doesn't come straightly like they in some other form or a variation of those standard questions do come during the interviews. So make sure that you solve the questions from interview bit as well. And yeah, so that was it for DSA. For ML, I mainly revised my course notes related to whatever ML related courses I had done at KGP. So I had done MLFA and CSE department ka machine learning course as well. So I revised the slides and whatever notes I had. Apart from that, I also um, I had done DLFA. So DLFA maybe I revised the slides and whatever notes I had done. And yes, linear algebra for AI/ML also. I had notes of that. So like so basically, I most of the time I used to refer to my notes and slides for revising the concepts related to ML. Also, so there are very good YouTube channels which you can refer if you are to get your basic concepts of ML clear. So I would recommend the StatQuest. That's a great resource which you can follow if you need some like you need to clarify your concepts of ML. So yeah, that's it for the ML part. For probability, again, you all, I think most of you guys have done your second year. So the theory of that is enough, and then for questions you can like look for online or any problem sheet. So I don't think there would be any issue. You can also do brain stellar K probability K questions because sometimes they ask in the interview as well. And then statistics was something which was I did before my placement prep. I was not like the concept of p-value or like hypothesis testing. So I had to I did all of these from YouTube videos only. So yeah. Again, StatQuest was of great help there. Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah.
Those are all the resources which I found.
Thank you, Saurabh. That was very informative.
So, about how do you leverage your internship experience during your full-time interviews? And did interviews viewers focus on your internship projects only or on your overall skill set? Jachandra, can you please share your insights here?
Yeah. Uh, I'll start with my internships things. What happened was during the internships, I realized that there are many things which I know, but I could not communicate to the other person. For example, let's say if someone asked me what is CNN, even though I knew that what is CNN, I was not able to explain to them those kind of stuffs and how to frame an answer and why it is important to have an answer framed beforehand will help in the interview. All those things were understood to me during my internships, and those things I actually leveraged during my placements. And when it comes to placements, the things what will be written in your CV will be actually asked. Uh, yeah, and one suggestion is that just look at your bold text, all the algorithms in the bold text, go through it, and then try to find out the algorithms which are near closer to it and give a reason why you did not use that algorithm or why you used this algorithm. All these kind of questions should be framed by you only, and also try to find the answer either by referring to books, GPT, or anything. Uh, and to answer the question whether uh, it was focused only on the internship or not, my answer would be no, because uh, when hiring a on placement person, they are not very sure of what project you will be working upon. So they will not be focused upon the very niche thing which they will be requiring. Even though there might be written so many things in your CV, those things can be asked, but all the basic algorithm related to those things will be asked. Let's say if you have mentioned something like NLP, so they will start with transformer. They will ask what is BERT, transformers, what basic working structure of GPT, those kind of things, which are mostly common, mostly basic. That's what I wanted to say. And uh, and when it comes to me, in one round, they simply went into the internship. They just picked one of my internship, and whole 45 to 50 minutes was only on one internship, only on the 4 lines of the CV. This should make you guys realize that all the words in the CV matters. So be thorough with those things.
Thank you, Jayachandra, for telling more about CVs and how it helps. Uh, Dave, I would want to ask you to please carry forward towards this question.
Yeah, sure. So my internship was in Honeywell for the data engineering role, and how I leverage it for the full-time interviews. Like in internship, I gained like I developed lot of skills. So my work was based on Tableau, PySpark, and SQL, and how to leverage big data. So big data is a different thing. So in college, what we used to do is like we work on small data and all, and it can work in collab. But in companies and corporate, you have to work on big data, which can't be like we can work on home because we require a lot big cluster. So this gives a lot of experience, and I write a like whole like 4 5 like my CV was occupied with interns, and not like like full-time interviews are not only focused on internship. I would say they focus on projects, and they will not only ask for your internship, they will ask the terms you have marked. Like if you have worked on LLMs, they will ask your work on your what you have did on internship, and they will ask several other questions also related to that topic. So I would say ki if you're preparing for data, make sure you thoroughly go to your CV and know all the things you have mentioned, like every key points you have mentioned. So this is the thing I want to add, and yeah, that's
Yes, that would be very helpful to the Janta. And I would want to ask further, like if any student does not have internship in data but want to go further in it, how can it? How can that person do it? Aditya, can you answer this?
So if your CV does not have any ML or DL projects, what happen most of the time is they directly go to the theory part. They'll ask you what topics do you know or like what are you most confident in, and they will start the interview with that. It's definitely beneficial to have some projects, so maybe get some self projects done. Make sure to not get into very like deep, like you might go into architect but and other stuff. But explaining that without learning them properly is a very difficult task, and you might get rejected because of that. So just don't get into the LM race. Start like directly in the start if that's a self project. I would say keep it basic and like yeah. Apart from that, self projects do help. Eh, And yeah, that's all. Maybe Saurabh can add some
Was
points.
sort of please add.
Yeah. I completely agree with Aditya, whatever he said. So, yeah, I mean, adding on to that, I would say that apart from self project, I mean, it's important to have projects around ML when you are sitting for the data interview, because then interviewer like will have something to discuss around that. So make sure that you have at least one self project or any internship ML internship ka project around that, so on your CV. So just make sure that you have at least one project related to ML on your CV.
That were very insightful thoughts on internship. And also, I would like to thank you all the panelists to answering on chat box on site. So moving forward,
So moving forward, coming to the very popular question, does CG impact the overall selection process? And are there any departmental advantages? Mr. Dev, can you take the lead on this?
Yeah, sure. So I would say good CG doesn't hurt. But yeah, good. So maintaining a CG of 8 plus will be very helpful because some companies have a cutoff for like CG criteria. And if they allow to give you tests, they will shortlist on basis on CG criteria. So good CG doesn't hurt. At least try to maintain a CG of 8 plus. And there are department advantages certainly, like they prefer CS people, but like some of the companies don't differ, like have a differentiation on based on department. Let's say, for example, Sprinkler, they hire selectively on the basis of skills. So like we can't do like for the companies who are like take advantage, like prefer to hire like CS department, but we can certainly prepare for other companies who are hiring for like lower departments also. Yeah, and CG, I would prefer to like to maintain 8 plus at least. And that's all.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dev. Mr. Jayachandra, do you have anything else to add on?
Yeah, having a good CV never hurts. But when it comes to data, I feel that having a good CV matters a lot. Other, even if there is a, even if the CG is less and CV is good, it is a good plus. And when it comes to department, I am from agriculture department, and most of the time, you will feel that because of the department, you are not able to apply to so many companies. But it is also true that there are many more companies which will hire you and not disappoint you. So try to build a better CV with a very standard CV, what is expected by the market.
Thank you, Mr. Jayachandra. So moving on.
So I will ask you this question: how important are machine learning and deep learning skills in the comparison of skills through weightage?
Okay, so the interviews don't directly jump into DL unless you have mentioned them specifically in your CV. So the interviews usually start with classical ML only. So in my case, I have given a lot of interviews on campus as well as off campus. So the majority of them started with clustering algorithms. So so the main topics that they generally ask are clustering algorithms, trees, bagging, and boosting. So they start with these, then they would generally hop onto losses, why they are used, how they are used. And if you mentioned DL, they generally, since like the trend is that DL questions are being asked in interviews. So make sure you at least know the basics, if not some specifics. Like if you don't know computer vision specifically or NLP, it does not matter that much because they do not expect that. So at least learn basic ANN, what is ANN, how are the law, what is gradient descent, what are its variants, what are optimizers, the basic stuff that are taught in MLFA course. So at least make sure you know the content that are covered in MLFA course. Yeah, and apart from that, I think more weightage is given to ML because, as I have said, they don't expect you to have much experience in DL. So I would say around 70-30 if you don't have any DL projects. And if you have DL projects, it goes around 50-50 or 40-60.
Thank you, Aditya, for your thoughts. Saurav, can you add some more points?
Yeah, so like in terms of weightage, as Aditya said, that it's more important to focus on ML, classical ML algorithms than DL. So if you have mentioned any project on or any internship on your CV which involves deep learning K algorithms, the interviewer might jump onto the deep learning on the topics. But apart from that, mostly the interview most of the interviews start with the classical ML and then stick to it. So yeah, that's it. And in terms of like weightage with in comparison to other skills, specifically for analytics profile, I would say that ML as well as SQL has almost like equal weightage, I would say. So in specifically for analytics profile, SQL is something which you have to be very comfortable with because in the coding like in the online tests as well, they ask like there is a specific like section for solving SQL, writing SQL queries. So you have to make sure that you are very clear and thorough with the SQL concepts and have practiced enough questions. So when like interviewer is asking you to write some queries, you can do it. So yeah, that's it.
That were very good thoughts, Saurav. Thank you for it. Dev, I wanted to ask to you about what type of courses do you recommend to students who are preparing for data?
Yeah, so the I would recommend like the famous interview entry course, what I have done. This is from Coursera and this is free also. And deep learning specialization, which is very good. This is for the ML and DL part. And I have also done TensorFlow specialization course on Coursera. This involves this course has a lot of projects also, and this is available on Coursera free of cost. And to learn probability, there is a course of Harvard Stats 101, 110, I think, or 101, I don't remember. But that is a very, very good course. If you haven't done the probability course in second year, like I haven't done, I have watched that course video, which is available in YouTube free of cost, and that is a very informative. And for other things you can do is like one of the panelists mentioned StatQuest. It is a very good channel. It has all the videos of like different algorithms explained in very depth. So that would be, and these would be sufficient. Like, yeah, these courses and books. If you see like Brainsteller and 50 problems in probability, so this will cover like almost everything.
That would be very informative to other people. Thank you for your thoughts.
So moving on. So how is important is a deep understanding of DSA for data analytics profile, and what level of proficiency is typically required? Mr. Jayachandra, can you elaborate on this?
I think I may not be the great person to answer this because I did not prepare for data analyst roles, but uh, from the knowledge of exams which are given, I just see that there are most of the time it's aptitude, data interpretation, these kind of things, which will help. I think SQL is also a must if you're sitting for data analyst profile. Yeah, but apart from this, it will be hard for me to add on the interview process. I
No
think
problem.
the other people can take on.
Okay. Mr. Aditya, can you take the lead?
So for analyst role, they don't generally ask DSA. Like even if they have programming question, it's generally based on SQL only. They'll generally give you two SQL questions. Data interpretation is asked, that too time based. So generally in data analyst like in test, they will give you time bound rounds. So the data interpretation section might be of 10 minutes. Then the logical section, then there might be an English section, depends on the company. You can check the past papers of the company or to check their test pattern. That helps a lot. And also try getting the test patterns from other IITs because they generally follow the same, and many times same question, like the questions are repeated. So do follow them. Yeah, I don't think they ask much DSM.
Thank you,
you
Mr.
can prep
Aditya.
the you can prep the analytical part from past CAT papers. That's what I did, so maybe that can also help.
Thank you, Mr. Aditya. Mr. Saurabh, do you have anything else to add?
No, not any like significant point to add. But as like Aditya said that uh, DSA is not that much focused during for data analyst profile. So just focus on like data interpretation and SQL mainly. So yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Saurabh.
Moving forward to the next question, kind of common mistake you think the candidate should avoid before any interview or any test? Jayachandra, can you give your views here?
Uh, Mistakes would be to take stress maybe. If you have prepared well, then don't try to overcomplicate things by simply preparing all the things you hear on the last day before the interview. And trust yourself. That's what I would like to say. And apart from that, during interviews, I would suggest not to discuss too much with the other person because that might add a lot of stress if you don't know the answer for the question which he or she has answered. It's most, I talked mostly about the psychological things. Technical skills, I think it's not which is developed during the last few weeks of your uh, interview. One thing which you can do is just be thorough with the type of interview questions which are being asked by the companies. And if you are not able to answer it, it's okay if you don't have time.
Uh, Thank you, Jayachandra, for your thoughts. Saurav, can you add some more things about it? Do you
Yeah. So yeah. So not like I won't talk about the common mistake, but I would just give a interview tip that um, and CV tip as well. So make sure. So most of the time, I have seen that in the CV or during the interviews, people start explain when interviewer asks to explain their project or internship. They start, with the whatever they had done during the internship or the project. But the idea is to start like interviewer is listening, is seeing your work for the first time. So you need to give the context first. Context as in that what was the problem, what was your objective, which you were trying to achieve out of that project or internship. So just make sure that the interviewer understands the context about or the problem statement or the objective which you were trying to achieve, and then move on to explaining whatever you had done in order to solve that problem or achieve that objective. So that is one thing which I would suggest everyone to like follow. And apart from that, yeah, before the interviews, just keep your calm. Don't get too much stressed. I mean, yeah, if possible, do some meditation or something of that sort. Yeah, and that's it.
Thank you, Saurav, for your reviews. Aditya, can you tell what are the topics you reviewed at the last minute, the last day of the interview?
So for data interviews, the last minute topics that I would revise would be decision trees, random forest, normal clustering algorithms, because like I have been asked that 2 3 times in interviews. I won't go to DL much, but the loss functions, the scoring metrics like F score, precision recall, try to remember this by heart. And also one more thing I would like to add is check the scratch like implementation from scratch in Python of normal ML algorithms, because the and try to also get the assumptions of different algorithms. What are the assumptions that are being taken place? For example, there's a famous question like mentioning the assumptions in linear regression. Also be curious, like try to get, just don't cram all the assumptions and all the loss functions. Try to know why are they are being used. What if I change an assumption, what will happen? These kind of questions are generally being asked in interviews. Yeah, also I would like to add in the previous question as well. Don't waste the interviewer's time. If you don't know anything, learn to say no, because if you will respect his time, he will also respect your time. And don't go on telling a story with your introduction. I have seen that a lot, and I think that creates a negative impact. Don't waste 10 minutes with your introduction. Keep it very simple. Yeah, and when you start explaining a project, first tell the question, don't directly jump into the answer. What are the problem that you're trying to solve, as Saurabh mentioned? Then ask him if you would like to like go in brief or go in detail, because he might not be that interested in that project. Maybe he's just getting an overview. And also, sometimes they ask you to give an overview of your CV. In that case, also don't like give details about all your projects in very much detail. Just brief about them in maybe 2 lines, and ask him which project to describe in more detail, and keep smiling. Yeah, don't like show your stress on camera. Smile helps a lot. I also have been like told that in the interviews 2 3 times. So just adding onto that. Yeah.
Yes, that would be a really great advice to all the people preparing for interview. Dave, can you also add your reviews on it?
Yeah, Aditya has already added like lot of stuff and everything is covered. But like the part I want to add is revise your CV thoroughly. So there should be not like there should be nothing that you don't know and it's in your CV because it will create a very negative impact if you have written in the CV and you don't know about it. So just this point I want to add, like if you have put in the CV, revise it thoroughly. Like you should be very clear about what is the problem, what are you trying to solve, why I have mentioned this project. So yeah, that's all. Like everything is covered by Aditya's answer.
I would also like to add some different kind of questions that are being asked in interviews. So don't like apart from ML algorithms, they are also giving case studies now. So maybe they'll give you a problem. Like let's say you're giving an interview for Swiggy, they'll give you a problem that they're currently facing and ask you to model it as a data scientist. So also try to see some of the study problems in like case study problems on net. I think you can get it. So don't just focus on theory, focus on the practical aspects as well. They also try to ask now, like, how would you scale up an algorithm? The algorithm that might work for 10,000 rows might not work for 10 billion rows. So also try to think of these things when you learn something new, because they ask that in interviews. They want to try, like, see about your thinking skills. And generally, the data that you work on in industry is around big scale only.
I would also like to add one more point that I had a very small note where I had mentioned the terms which I was forgetting from time to time. In the last minute, I used to go through those things, which helped me to keep those things on top of my mind. And also have if possible, have a summary of the internships, uh, just to answer the question like what you have done in that internship. If this kind of question is asked, just have a very 3 to 4 line short summary which covers everything, and just keep reading it rather than remembering.
And
It
also
will.
don't keep that open while you're interviewing if your interview is online, because the interviewer can obviously tell that you're reading something. So that gives a very bad impression. Also, if you have time, make sure you have some small notes with you, because revising it through the videos is a very difficult task and takes a lot of time. So notes help a lot in that regard.
Thank you, Jayachandra, for showing such a good tricks, and also Aditya and Dev for giving such a nice reviews. Uh,
So, panelists, do you have any general advice or Monday for our Janta which we might have missed? Mr. Saurabh, will you like to start first?
Uh, yeah, so one thing which I would say is that, like, don't make the placements uh, like too big than actually what it is. So, like, just, I mean, it's not the end of the world if the results are not in your favor. And one thing which I would say is that specifically CDC placements are a bit random, and there is always a bit of luck involved. So, and it's at times it's unfair, and I'm like unfair in the sense that let's say you are very great at ML and you have done a lot of good projects, but you are not from a circuitry department, and then company puts a criteria that they will shortlist only from the circuitry department. So that's kind of unfair to you, right? So accordingly manage your expectations, focus on your skills, and just don't I mean, I know many friends who did not get a single offer from the placements, CDC placement, but they got great offers off campus. So just don't take it to like, just don't take this entire CDC placement. Yes, of course, it's important to have bag a good job offer, and it's important that you do the hard work for it. But don't let it affect you mentally, such that it affects your adversely affects your preparation. And take out some free time and do some bakchudi with your friends. So yeah, that's all I would say.
Thank you, Saurabh. That was very insightful. Mr. Dev, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, so one advice I would give is like to try to study in groups, so that will reduce your pressure. And the second advice, which is most important, is don't take too much pressure, because it will affect your mental health. You will get good results eventually if you have studied hard, and it's like in CDC, luck plays a lot of role. So don't get demotivated, and try to like make friends more and try to study with them. This will like effectively helps a lot. Like I studied with the groups of friends, and it helps me to reduce pressure and all. Yeah, that's the most important advice I would say.
Thank you, Mr. Dev. Mr. Aditya, do you have anything else to add?
I would say don't compete too much with your friends. Be supportive of each other, and it's not a competition. So compete with yourself. Try to perform better than your last test, and you can also see what are the things that you're lacking in during your test. So don't just leave it behind that I'll do perform in the next interview. Try to study them. Like let's say you cannot solve a question in a test or in an interview. Make sure that you revise it again. Yeah, and yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Aditya. Mr. Jayachandra, do you have anything, any more advice for our Janta?
Yeah, it would not be like more advice, it would be like summing up the things. Be with friends, like uh, be with good people, spend time with them, and also make sure that if you look back, you should only blame the luck for what has happened with you. It should not be like, अरे यार उस दिन अगर पढ़ लेता तो हो जाता. Look, it should not be like that. Make sure that you give your 100%, prepare, and don't compete with others. As Aditya mentioned, what will happen is that if you start competing with people, you will always find one more person who will be always better than you uh, at say time t or the day t. So make sure that you are competing with yourself. I would like to give myself as an example because uh, in internship I was never shortlisted because of a test. It was because of my CV that too EXL shortlisted me, and I was able to grab the internship just because there was no exams of the EXL. And the main problem for me was DSA. And I made sure that in the summers of the last year, only for 2 to 3 months, I prepared DSA through Algojanit. And I always felt that I was a better DSA problem solver because I just compared myself 1 year ago to what I was on that day, which helped me to get confidence and at least think freely during interviews or exams, because I thought I am best from the day which from the last day. Uh, so do not compete with others because it will only harm.
Thank you, Mr. Jayachandra. Moving on.
Now they will ask question from the Janta. You can, as you are previously putting your questions on the chat box, I would encourage you to ask some question which have not been asked yet. Uh, as many of the question have been answered by the panelists itself on the chat. So as most of the questions are done of the Janta, we can move forward.
Guys, feel
Okay,
free to
so
unmute and ask questions if you have any.
You can also put it in the chat if you want.
uh, people, if you have any question, you can ask here now. Yes, there is one question about DSA. Is DSA important for data scientist profile? So,
Yes, it is very much
Aditya,
important. Yes,
Yes, it
yes. Sorry for
matters.
interrupting. Yes, it is very much
no, no, it's
important.
fine.
Uh, So make sure to have some prep. So in my case, I didn't prepare as hard as these guys prepared. What I did was like I saw I took the algorithm course. I didn't solve the problems in algorithm course, but just used it for the videos and took some notes from that. For preparation, what I did was I solved all the questions of interview bit twice. First during like while I was so let's say I studied one topic, I studied graphs. So I solved only the questions of graphs at interview bit. And then after that, I solved again for all the topics. And apart from that, I solved around some like 2, 3 sheets at least, like top 100 interview questions. That's all I solved, and that actually worked for me. So maybe if you're short on time, make sure to at least do interview bit. It's the bare minimum. And don't leave some topics. You can leave some advanced topics like bridges and articulates and 3DP and stuff, but graph and DP is also required. So don't assume that they're advanced topic. They data scientists generally ask questions from graphs and trees a lot. Also, make sure you study try. It's considered an advanced topic, but it's very useful. So yeah, no need to study segment trees. I won't suggest that. I don't think apart from one or two companies and that to SD, they are segment trees. So you can leave segment trees, but don't leave try.
Adding on to it, binary search is also like something which many in interviews people like ask for the data scientist. So in my interview for Navi, there was one question on binary search as well. So make sure that apart from yes, like graph and DP are important, but apart from that, make sure that you have covered the basic topics like stacks and binary search, and yeah.
Yeah, one suggestion from me is uh, be prepared with all the standard interview problems, because in interview they are not mostly focusing on very hard questions, but they focus on how you approach. So to make that bit easier for you guys, they will be most of the time asking standard problems or either simple combination of standard problems which are available. So make sure that you go through those before your interview, because sometimes even though you can solve it in some optimal time, you never look after the space that is being used. But when it comes to machine learning and deep learning, optimizing space is a lot a thing which matters a lot. So those things actually do help in the future, but for the interview also it matters a lot. So focus on those things. What I said was just specific for the interview. For clearing the coding rounds, you should be good at the DSA, which these guys mentioned.
So Sarthak Raj, you can unmute yourself and ask the doubt.
Yeah, so thank you. And I want to ask, like, I am also a student studying MTech in AI. So I want to ask about, was there any special pressing point during the interview? Like, if you're a student from AI, so what all courses did you study and what did you study in those courses? So did they go any deeper into that part?
No, that's actually not the case. So generally for me, how they form the problems was that they start with your internship projects. What type of problem have you solved? Then they ask why, like, why did you solve it that day and not the other way? And on top of that, they try to build on questions. So they start from the internship, but they won't go that much into the internship or projects. They try to formulate it in a way that they can that helps their company. Maybe they're trying to solve some unsupervised learning problem. So even if you have started some supervised learning problem in your CV, they'll start from that and try to make it up to that point. That's of their use, so that they can see if you can solve their problems or not. And no, they don't ask if you have done that course or not. You can mention it yourself to add credibility that I have done this course and they taught that. So maybe they can go into that topic, but they don't directly ask that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so one of the question by Sanskar Surendra Singh is, okay, what type of MCQ questions or what topics should be practiced?
So oops is a very famous topic for, sorry for interrupting, please go ahead.
No, you can go.
So generally there are 3-4 sections. One focuses on ML, general ML questions, like let's say if they give you one graph or they give you one linear regression equation or some data, try to find the loss, mathematical questions. Or theoretical questions, let's say they give you two graphs, they'll ask you to tell the skew, is it left skewed, right skewed? And apart from that, there is a general section for oops. They give you some code and will ask you to guess the output. It generally mean like based on inheritance. You can try to get some oops question like past year gate questions. I think that would be very helpful to prepare for that. Jay Chandra, you can add on to that.
No, I think you covered the things. But one thing which I'm answering for the question which you asked before was like what are the last minute tip? But I would like to say last 2-3 months tip is to join a Discord channels where previous year questions will be posted and also the questions of the same company happening in the other colleges will be mentioned. And take it from me that at least 60% of the time you will be asked same questions, which will be around 80% similar, if not 100%. And there is also two kinds of Discord groups. One where only spam things happen, and one where actual right thing is happening. Make sure that you get into the right thing Discord group. Uh, and it's really very important that you get into these Discord channels because companies don't want to waste a lot of money preparing different kind of questions for different colleges. Because anyway they have the interview process to filter it out at the end. Yeah, it was not the answer for this question, but yeah.
Yeah, adding on to that, I would also stress upon having like statistics related theory very clear because I have observed that in most of the MCQs, yes, there are questions from a theoretical level, but a lot of questions are also from statistics, which are generally not like hypothesis testing or central limit theorem. These or concept of p-value. These are not covered in the majority of the courses in in the curriculum of KGP. So make sure that you have like enough understanding of these statistics topics to solve those MCQ questions. Yeah.
So we will take one more question. It's by Vivek Das. What about what kind of questions come in OA for data profile?
That depends on company to company, but
Yeah.
the majority of them ask a DSA question and a SQL question. Like there will be two questions, one DSA, one SQL, or there might be two DSA questions. That is the general trend that happened last year.
So Rajiv Gupta, you can ask your question.
Sir, I am a student at IIT Nagpur. I wanted to ask that is competitive programming required for the interviews like that code chef and lead code, etc.?
Uh, I would like to take this because I did not see code forces for last 4 years. I just did it in first year for just because people were talking of that things. But soon I realized that code forces and this competitive program is very different from DSA. And uh, I don't think uh, being very good at CP, like investing more time at being very good at CP will not help that much uh, rather than focusing on the other stuffs when it comes to data science and machine learning profiles. Uh, so be good at what is required. Uh, don't try to. For my case, I never liked coding. It was just for the placements purpose, and I was good at it just by doing lead code. Lead code is enough. It's like if you have time, if you are liking coding, then it's your choice.
Yeah, like as Jayachandra said, I won't like recommend you like just if you are talking in from the perspective of placements. Code chef and code forces are not that important, but yes, lead code is something which you can use for solving DDSA questions, and it's not like it's just for the placements and the job related coding rounds and all.
So we will take one last question. Is
Is he audible properly?
okay, we
Or...
will take. Yes, you are audible. Okay, so we will take one last question by Stefan. About how much project does internship help for analyst roles?
See, having a project or internship won't harm, it will always add value. So if you do not have anything, try to add some projects or hackathons, or try to get something from your hall. I think a lot of people do that and it actually helps.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
thank you.
I would like to add a point that, see, if I was an interviewer, if there were multiple, let's say one or two internship, it gives me an initial confidence that, okay, this guy has used his skill to solve some problem, real world problem. And this will at least create 5 minutes of interest in the interviewer's mind. And uh, so try to have those things. It will help a lot. Try to understand the psychology of the interview.
Okay, so now we can end the Q&A round and we'll move forward toward the end of the discussions. So once again, I would want to extend my congratulations to all the panelists for their impressive placements. And I would also like to thank you all for giving a valuable time and giving our impactful insights. I'm confident that your experience and guidance will extremely beneficial for all of us. Thank you once again to you.
Hello. Hello. So just to answer one question which is there in the chat, that are research internships and research projects helpful? So it depends. Like if the interviewer will all sees that whether you have used the like machine learning or anything skills related to that particular job description, like that particular job in your projects or not. So it doesn't matter whether that was a research internship or a corporate internship. If you have used your ML skills or ML related algorithms, then yeah, it's certainly helpful.
Yeah,
That
for
was
research-based
really
roles, they
very
definitely are helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
please go on. You can continue, Chaitanya.
No. I was just saying yes to yours.
Aditya, please continue with the answer.
I was saying that for research internships, like for research roles, like the role that I'm in, they are actually needed. Like without them, it's very difficult to get shortlisted because they don't have tests. They start with some SOP and they do filter by CV. So if you have a research project or research internship, it will be a good point in your CV. For non-research roles, it is not required at all. A corporate internship would be better, I think.
So finally, I would like to thank all the panelists for their valuable insights, and I hope everyone could benefit from this session. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you for joining.